you record a lot of video on your iPhone, there's a new free app from Apple called Final Cut Camera, and it is designed specifically for filmmakers in mind. Today we'll go through all of the features, what they mean, and how to use them. And I want to start by showing you the coolest feature. So right now you're watching me recorded on an iPhone 15 Pro in ProRes log. And now this is the Canon C70, what I usually use to record my YouTube videos. If we switch back and forth, you'll notice they both look amazing. But what's new and incredibly useful is this wireless monitoring that I'm doing with an iPad right here. Now, I know everybody watching doesn't necessarily have an iPhone 15 Pro and an iPad, so I'm going to start off with features that are available to everybody using an iPhone 14. But I think a lot of the purpose of Final Cut Camera is to be a sister app to the iPad. So we'll go into this feature later, as well as the Multicam that I just used to record my podcast the other day. I'll explain all of that. But first, here's the features that everybody has access to when you download the app. So first things first, make sure you're downloading the right app in the App Store. It looks like this. I'm going to open it up for the first time, and this is what we'll see. Let's start with a really quick tour of the interface. In the top left, this will connect to Multicam in Final Cut for iPad. In the middle are the settings for your file format. On the right, more settings. Below that, we've got audio meters. You can see they're bumping around when I talk. That's how you make sure you're not clipping. Then we have the time remaining. This is based on the storage available on your phone. And down below will look more familiar, kind of like the standard phone app. You can switch between lenses, and keep in mind, these are using the same lenses. Like the video that comes out of Final Cut Camera isn't magically better. It's using the same iPhone camera. It just gives you more flexibility. On the left is a zoom rocker to zoom in and out. And then this arrow or swiping up will bring up some more options: white balance, exposure, focus, rotation lock. You'll notice the lens options are slightly different than when you're in the regular camera app, which would say 0.5, 0.1, 2, and 3. But this is telling me the numbers in the equivalents of full frame cameras, which would be 13 millimeters, 24 millimeters, and 77 millimeters, but they are the same as in the other camera app. These all work almost exactly the same way, but the difference is that professionals usually don't want to be like in between. So for example, if I open up the zoom and I go to like 1.1 or something like that, it's more intentional in the Final Cut Pro app, whereas in the standard camera app, you can kind of end up with these random numbers, which are just cropping in and reducing your image quality. And another secret little difference I noticed from the regular camera app, if you go into your longest zoom lens, you can actually zoom even further than it would otherwise let you zoom. So this number gets up to 10x, whereas for some reason I can only go to 9x in the default camera app. So everything I'm showing you today are professional ways to record what's right in front of you. But the internet's a big place. I have a podcast and most of my guests aren't here. They're not in the same city as me. So I usually need to record them remotely. And the absolute best way to do it is with Riverside. And if you haven't heard of Riverside before, when I'm recording remote guests on my podcast, it's usually using that. They just log in through their web browser, and without any effort, no setup, they see me, I see them, and it records a high quality local copy to the cloud. So it's not just streaming, there's no cutting out or breaking up. I get the same quality that they're seeing on their end, download it to my computer, and I can edit that later. And I've already made some videos showing that whole workflow, going in depth on it, but Riverside keeps pushing things forward. Like now they have the new mobile camera feature, so you can connect any phone to the computer, have high quality video. And for a while now, you've been able to stream directly from Riverside, but they've really improved those features lately. So now there's lower third integration to show the names of your guests, multi-destination streaming, so if you want to go to YouTube and Facebook and Twitch, whatever it is you use, all at the same time, stream in full 1080 HD, and you can also brand your studio with your logo, colors, whatever makes it look like it's yours. Riverside's goal is simple and ambitious, so that your recording, streaming, and editing can all be done in one place with really powerful tools to make it easy enough for anybody to do it. So to check it out, visit the link down below, and thanks again to Riverside for sponsoring this video. Now let's open up a few more of our tools and find one of the main reasons that I'll be using Final Cut Camera instead of the regular camera app, and that's just white balance. This is a very basic feature that's on like every camera since forever, but it's never been added to the default camera app, which drives me crazy because often it'll just start shifting white balance when you don't want it to. So if you tap over here on the right where it says auto, you can find all of the standard presets. So right now I'm basically in a daylight environment, but actually it looks a little bit wrong here. So what I might do is I would like start off with auto, get it to set something right, and then go to fixed, and now it'll just stay at that auto number. You shouldn't really overthink white balance too much. Auto is usually correct, but sometimes it goes crazy and it's nice to be able to lock it. Closing white balance, let's go into exposure. I often just bring this down a little bit. I like the way that iPhones look when they're underexposed, like 0.3, maybe 0.5, 0.7 of a stop, but you can also dial it in completely manually. So tap auto over here, and now we have full manual control. So right now I'm recording in 30 frames per second. So if I were to make this look like a professional camera, I'd switch this to 1/60th of a second. That gives you smooth motion blur, but it depends on your lighting because you don't have total control over your aperture and things on an iPhone. I don't usually add NDs to my iPhone. So honestly, I typically leave this on auto and will occasionally just lock it. Let's close that. Autofocus, you can turn this on and off for manual. This is pretty advanced. It's hard to manually focus an iPhone, so I probably won't be playing around with that too often. And then orientation lock. This is helpful if you're someone like me that usually has orientation lock on the phone, so that if you're spending all day shooting left or right, horizontal. But when I'm choosing an iPhone as my camera, I'm usually shooting vertical for social content. And if you're anything like me, then you might want to check out the Stalman clamp, which I made specifically as a professional quality way to vertically mount your camera. And now in the bottom left, we can take a look at the media, and you'll notice right away this looks totally different from when you're in the Photos app. It's a very important thing to remember that this is not recording to the standard Photos apps. You're not going to find them over there. This is putting them in an all media Final Cut camera folder that's attached to the app. So you can select all of these and then export them and save the video out to the regular camera app, allow full access. But just remember that it is separated from there, so they're not going to show up there automatically. You're kind of managing them inside a Final Cut camera. And there's not a lot of editing tools here. You can't trim and stuff like in other places. All you can really do is delete. Now, before we record anything, it's very important to check out these settings at the top. This is like the file settings, everything about how we're capturing it. First of all, we have HEVC versus ProRes. ProRes files are huge, like really massive. They will fill your phone quickly. Like, let's take a look. I can record 54 hours right now. If I change this to ProRes, I only have 1.5 hours available on this phone. So I'd only use ProRes with log. I'll show you that in a second, not quite yet. I always recommend turning HDR off and recording in SDR. The iPhone wants to push you into HDR because it's kind of a fancy trick. Like it's interesting that it's available, but I don't think it looks that good. It's not supported by a lot of apps. You're just going to create headaches for yourself in the workflow later if you capture HDR. Definitely recommend just record to SDR unless you're an expert and you know what you're doing. Then 4K versus 1080, 720, this just depends where you're capturing it to. One thing I'll show you, if you drop it down to 1080 now, over here in our frame rates, it opens up additional options. So we can go all the way from 24 frames per second up to 240 frames per second. That's the full slow-mo in the regular camera app. But when we're in 4K, not all those options are available, so just be aware. Now let's go a little further into settings here. In our preferences, some of the same things are repeated, but we can also turn on the stabilization. I would just keep this on. This is sort of the default of how an iPhone usually works. And people totally underestimate how good the stabilization is on an iPhone. I recently posted on Threads, like, I think it's kind of a well-kept secret of phone filmmakers that you just don't really need a gimbal anymore because it is so stable. Not even with action mode. Just normal stabilization is amazing. Mirror the front camera if you need to do that. Tools, grid overlay, I use that really often. That just gives you like a 3x3 grid. Aspect ratio guide, this just changes your grid lines. Probably don't need it very often. Then some more professional features. Overexposure indicator will show you what is too bright in your scene. Focus peaking will show you what's in focus. Honestly, these features are like pretty professional and I don't use them that often on my phone. I'm more likely to use it on a bigger professional camera. An audio input source, this is if you're using something like wireless mics from Rode or DJI or whatever you're using. And even though this video is about Final Cut Camera, I have to point out there are other apps available that do this, like Blackmagic Camera and Kino, that have even more manual features and you can go way deeper on those. I think Apple designed this kind of for themselves because they're shooting keynotes on iPhones right now. I've done some deep dive videos about how that works. And I think they just wanted all the features available to them that they need the most. Now let's pull out the iPhone 15 Pro to take a look at some of the really amazing features. This is rigged out with the Stalman clamp from Condor Blue. Check out the link down below. This is what I was recording in at the beginning of the video, and that's how I can match it to a big professional camera. Regular iPhone recording adds a lot of sharpening and tone mapping, and it doesn't look pro, it looks like a phone. Like it's nice for a phone, but it looks like a phone every time. This is both where I'm most impressed and disappointed with the Final Cut camera app, because ProRes in here is 422 HQ, which is I already said this before, it's a huge codec. Like this is a very professional codec. Apple definitely uses it to shoot their commercials. I see why they need to do it. They're shooting an Apple keynote, right? Doesn't matter how big the files are. I'm the kind of guy that buys a lot of hard drives. I have storage space, but I still cannot actually work with this effectively. Getting the files on and off of the phone, transferring them wirelessly is too slow. This is too big of a codec, and there are smaller options out there like H.265, ProRes LT. I really wish this had happened as they released Final Cut Camera. I'm sure it'll come eventually, but for now, if you want to record in any of those other formats, you're gonna have to check out other apps like Blackmagic Camera or Kino. So just be aware that it only records these big chunky files, but it can do it with Final Cut for iPad. So let's see how those two integrate. First, I'm just gonna mount my phone over to the side here. I'll start off just using this as like a wireless monitor for my one camera. That's actually what I think I'll do more often. To do that, I still create a new project in Final Cut and go into live multicam. I'm just only using one camera at a time at first. So now I can see myself, I can see everything that's going on. As long as I'm in full screen here, I can control everything like the white balance. I can adjust the exposure and also set the recording options. So right now I'm on HDR, which I said not to do. So I'm gonna switch this over to log, which is my preferred format. And the very helpful thing is like right now I'm using the selfie camera. Let's start recording. So the selfie camera is lower quality. It's not as good of a lens, not as big of a sensor. I want to use the big sensor on the front of the camera. So I do have a recording button here available in Final Cut for iPad. I'm going to stop recording, flip the camera around, and physically flip the camera around so it's looking at me. So now I can monitor exactly what's going on. I should probably rotate this as well. Oh, wait, I didn't try this. Oh, I didn't test this before. You're seeing some live disappointment. I can't rotate Final Cut for iPad into portrait orientation, so I guess I'm stuck. But yeah, either way, now I'm on the big lens, the good lens, so I can see everything that's happening. Recording in ProRes log. Let's hit record. My record button is back out of full screen here. So it's interesting, I have to go in and out of full screen to access that record button. But now here it is. I'm getting full quality. It is recording internally to the phone. And when it's done, you can do a file transfer of the full-size final ProRes file to the iPad. That takes a very long time because ProRes is enormous, but there will be a streamed file that is a lower quality proxy if you want to just start editing right away. The use cases for this might be kind of obvious. Like right now, I can look at myself while I can't see the iPhone screen, but this happens all the time when we're doing professional things with our iPhone that we want to show the client what's happening and we're not standing right in front of the phone, and you can have a separation of that monitor without building out a big rig around your iPhone. Now let's take a look at the Multicam tool. So if you watched the last episode of the podcast, that's how I recorded it. Jordan and Chris from Petapixel came over. We talked about cameras. What I wanted to grill them on is, have we hit a new plateau in terms of camera image quality? We're here in the studio. We set up 4 cameras. So Chris was the main guest. So I had one on him, then I had one on me as the host, and a 2 camera for both of us. This is the essential minimum, I think, for any multicam conversation setup. A close-up, and a wide. That's what you need for comfortable cutting back and forth. Then we had Jordan kind of playing the producer role. Now, I'll admit, we actually didn't fully understand some of the features in Final Cut while we were setting this up. We thought he'd be able to live switch between us, meaning he could tap on our faces, and in Final Cut, we'd have those edits afterwards. That's not available yet in Final Cut for iPad. Yet. I am sure this is coming. I really hope this is coming, but it was disappointing for us in real time to realize like, oh, we all kind of thought that feature was going to be available and it wasn't. So hopefully coming soon. I was also a little disappointed at the image quality here. I couldn't record in log because of what I said earlier about ProRes, like 4 cameras recording would be too big of a file to work with. And afterwards, I found there's a little bit of a stutter to some of the clips, and that might have been our fault because I actually don't remember making sure that it transferred the full quality files when we finished recording. So it's possible I was just using the streamed files. And in that case, it's actually very impressive how good it looked because there are some dropped frames occasionally, but it's still more or less usable. What you'd want to do though is make sure that the file transfer from all of the phones is complete before you finish. And just to show you how it works, I'll quickly add one more camera so that we have a multicam setup going here. I'm going to switch out of ProRes and out of log. And notice that every time you switch out of ProRes, it comes back to HDR. So I'll switch that back to SDR. And I want to match that up here in my project settings because the dynamic range is still set to log. That's why it looks a little bit weird. Make sure you change that to SDR as well. Now to add another camera, I can initiate that in the iPad or in the phone. Up here, I'll tap the multicam button, continue, allow it to find networks, allow it to connect to Bluetooth. And here we go, here's the iPad M4. And I mean, do you see how fast that connected? This is what's so impressive is like that connection was instant and it's really solid. Like it has very minimal lag. Now again, it switched over to HDR. Make sure we're on SDR. So I'm not sure how much this comes across on YouTube, but the lag here is very minimal. Like it's, you know, a few milliseconds after. This is really very usable. There's times that HDMI has more lag than this, so I'm really impressed by that aspect of it. The way that recording works, I can trigger it on any of the phones, see how it initiates it on the iPad at the same time as both of the phones. Then I can also stop it from any of them. It's asking me stop recording from this camera or all. I'm gonna say all cameras. Once I've captured my clips, up here in the top right, I can say done, and I'm brought back to my project, and it's gonna ask me, do I wanna transfer now or transfer later? There is some ProRes in there, so it'll take a little while. I'm gonna say transfer now, and up here, it'll give you the progress on those transfers. Again, it can take a while for bigger files, but in the end, you've got a Final Cut project that is all synced, all the cameras are working together, and it's just ready to go. You can start editing it either on the iPad or transfer it over to the Mac. Final Cut is my editor of choice, so I kind of love that ability. I can just throw it over to my Mac when I'm done. So now that you've seen it in action, I'd love to know, what will you use Final Cut Camera for? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to check out that episode with Jordan and Chris. And thanks again to Riverside for sponsoring this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.